Oh, hey, Dawntrail's out.
Huh. Alright then, I guess we can talk Final Fantasy XIV while Eddie's away.
Someone say Final Fantasy?
You really should lock that door.
Yeah, I should.
I'm back, y'all.
I really should lock that door.
Welcome to the Music Arcade.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Music Arcade. I'm Galen the Sound Guy Firestone.
I'm Wanna Kill and I'm home. Riding home forever. I have a very long commute.
I am Sam Zoraal, your local Viper expert.
And I'm Eddie, and wait a minute, did I just become a guest host?
Who are you? Just kidding, it's good to have you.
It's been a while since the crew's been together. It's been a while since we've gotten an episode out. Things just went absolutely haywire with everybody's schedules.
Yeah.
April started just screwing me over, and then the world decided to screw you guys over as well.
Well, the long commute was a joke, and an excellent one, might I add. I actually do have 4 hours of commute for internship I'm going through right now.
I'm glad you continue to be your modest self, saying your joke was amazing.
It was.
Yeah, in my case, Rana touched on it when I first left, let's say, back in April, I think it was, which was, I had a lot of work, which was correct. I had a lot of work. I work in a marketing agency. Half our clients are American. We had a lot of 4th of July stuff to do. The other half is I'm actually doing a postgrad right now, so my presence here is kind of the exception to the rule today.
It is.
We're glad to have you nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back. The FF14 release, we've done 2 of these now, and they've been kind of major events for us as we've talked about them, just given the sheer breadth of musical genres that go into one expansion of this game.
Especially in this expansion. Oh my god!
Yeah, this one goes places, but
So it's good to have the 4 Heavenly Kings gathered together.
Also, let's be real, out of the 4 of us, I'm basically the one guy who can go, I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, but this is what I feel.
Believe it or
we
not,
have
that's actually
different
a
levels.
huge advantage right now.
I hope so. We'll see.
And I'm on a different level because with my level of business, well, I am indeed able to record. I haven't been able to get into the expansion myself, so I haven't played it. I've only listened to it in preparation for this very episode.
And this gives us a variety of perspectives. Eddie, your perspective is twice over. One, you're not a fan of the game, but you are able to analyze the music, and that tells us whether or not we're just drinking the Kool-Aid, or whether this is actually good stuff. And secondly, this game touches upon a lot of South American and Mexican music stylings, which you are much more culturally close to than anyone else here. So that gives you more of a association that way, and can give us more background information than we would be able to provide normally ourselves.
I am not gonna spoil you on the second point, but regarding the first point, let's just say that I have noted a couple times here that these songs certainly mean something, I just don't know what the hell they mean.
That, I actually had that reaction myself a couple of times. And with that, let's just start in with the main city here, and let's just dive right in. We got Tuliyollal, the day theme. I was not expecting Benny Goodman when I turned on this song.
Same, and I think, like, this song immediately made me think, why did they choose it? Oh, right, it's not just that they wanted a vacation theme, it's that I feel that they were worried that if they went too hard on one single theme they're already going to use for a couple of other zones, it might get too samey, so they had another angle and they went hard on it. Like, this sounds almost more like Vegas than a beach resort at points.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just, it's swing jazz. It's just pure swing jazz.
I do want to make sure one thing, because the visuals I saw made it seem like it was kind of a little bit Indonesian inspired. Is that fair?
No, it's more Aztec-inspired, was the point. Like, this is all a celebration of the Americas. Right now, we're in kind of South America, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, the visuals I saw for full transparency here, we listened to these songs through a playlist made by a fan on YouTube because the official soundtrack isn't out yet.
Right.
And the visuals for this one, they look like the stonework I could kind of see as being Mesoamerican, but the structures around it felt more Indonesian, especially the temples.
Interesting.
So I have a note here that I'll just read verbatim.
Okay.
Place looks Indonesian, name sounds Mesoamerican, music is pure New Orleans. Yep, this is Final Fantasy. Yeah, maybe it was just the angles they chose for those shots on the video that look a little bit more Indonesian. Maybe those temples up close look more like the pyramids from Central America. All I can say, it did not look like Mesoamerica to me.
That's very fair. And thank you for that perspective, because I'm like, I get what they're going for here, and clearly that's just me being a white guy.
As we go along, that will change, but for this one, it felt more like an Indonesian thing.
Okay. It kind of makes sense since I heard a description of Indonesia that lived rent-free in my head for over a year now, which is that it is the largest country you don't care about.
Oof.
One of my favorite all-time martial artists is from there, so that actually makes me feel pretty bad, because I'm that weirdo who does care about it.
That is not too wrong, but also oof. As the son of a former geography teacher, oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing that I thought of with this song, I even share on Discord, is it sounded a lot like the title theme to an old Disney game called Maui Mallard in Cold Shadow, which I played on the SNES, but I shared the PC version of the song. Kind of has that show tunes vibe, like the show's about to begin, kind of thing, which is kind of funny because Maui Mallard in Cold Shadow, or Cold Shadow, whatever you want to call it. It is set in Hawaii, in Maui, so I thought of Indonesia. So it's basically both songs have this show tunes vibe, and they come off as being from a tropical country in the northern hemisphere. It's weird coincidence.
Huh.
But yeah, I like the song. It's as I said, the mix of different cultures is 100% Final Fantasy. But it's a fun song.
Yeah. Another song it kind of reminded me of is, of all things, the Chocobo theme from Final Fantasy X specifically.
Huh?
It's the drums, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I will say in advance, since we're talking about drums here, and we mentioned this being a sort of South America thing, being on this expansion, the drums do not ever sound South American. If you thought they sounded South American, they will never sound South American. I'll give you that much in advance. There is no syncopation to be found here in almost every track. At least not in the style we do over here.
Yeah.
Huh.
I learned something. This note alone is why I'm really glad you're here, Eddie.
Yes. My God.
I mean, that and the fact we generally appreciate your pleasant company.
Yes,
but
obviously.
That
but
too.
We would not have this perspective without you.
I get it. But I'm also down with self-deprecating jokes.
On the night theme?
Sure. Yeah, so basically now we just have the smooth / improvisational jazz version of the same song.
I like the counterpoint.
It feels good. Like, I don't dislike either of these songs. It's not as, like, massive of a change as, say, Crystarium's two versions, but it's still pretty nice.
One of the things I thought of for the day theme, but that applies here too, is that it's also, like, make it such a distinct main city theme also helps, I think, distinguish it to Western audiences like us, to Favner, I think. Because it's easy to look at what is in North America and Central Europe and think it's just exotic. But
that is true.
Actually, a much wider net with a lot of specificities, and I think having that much of a gap between two exotic cities helps really make them stand out.
That certainly helps it, because Razathan is very... It is inspired by, like, Indian and East,
Bangladeshi,
like,
Pakistani,
Middle East,
like, Middle Asian.
Yeah.
Middle Asian stuff. But it needs to have that difference, especially to avoid it feeling samey.
Yeah.
Alright.
There's a... This still has some great horns. There's, like, a cool sax solo in there towards the end. Like, the night theme is just cozy, but still being jazzy. And I like the jazz. The jazz makes me feel good.
I really like when night themes can assert themselves instead of just being the most subdued version of the day theme.
Yeah.
I think they did. Of course, I don't have a big of a comparison point as you guys do, but based on the soundtrack, on the Final Fantasy XIV soundtrack that I have heard, mostly through the podcast, I think this is possibly the one where they did the best work with the night themes in my opinion. Because they all sounded really, really neat, and in some cases they sounded better than the day theme for me.
We will have this conversation going forward, I'm sure.
Yeah. In this case, I think the day theme was better. I can't listen to it without thinking of Code Shadow because I played the game a lot as a kid.
Right.
But it is really, really cool. The night theme, again, it is cool as well, but the day theme is just so fun.
So, up next we have the instrumental version of the main theme. This song, the instrumental version, sounds way angrier than I was expecting it to. Like, this is a fairly aggressive guitars. For what is essentially a breather X pack, this feels wrong.
They do go hard, but that isn't even what strikes me the most about this song. It's more the fact that it's essentially 3 songs that piled up at an intersection.
Yeah, it is definitely a few different songs, including the regular battle theme, almost verbatim, stapled together.
Honestly, the instrumental version of this song just made me think of how many different Japanese alt rock bands I've heard with that exact same guitar tune. It just it sounded basic for Final Fantasy for me.
Yeah, this is probably my least favorite main theme of the entire franchise.
Yeah.
It's not a bad song, I just don't have much, like, affection for it. It's just sort of
not
there.
Excited to go and have a listen to it like I have for Shadowbringers or Endwalker or Heavensward.
Yeah, it's just, it's missing something, and we're going to talk about the full main theme later, and be ready, I have words about that one.
Excellent.
The parts I like are the parts that get reused in other places as well. Like I mentioned, the battle theme shows up almost verbatim in here. The battle theme's good.
Masayoshi Soken reusing parts of his songs for other songs?
Surely you jest, right? Yeah, no.
Although I will say, I am glad that the exact 3/3 split we had for Endwalker wasn't present here.
Yeah, this is a lot more varied of a soundtrack, which is good.
Yeah. Because it doesn't have to look back, so it's good that it's a theme not for Endwalker that wasn't relevant and wasn't used here. And it isn't just going through the motion.
Yeah. I think this worked out quite well, actually.
Indeed.
Well, I say quite well. The soundtrack as a whole worked out quite well. This song leaves me a bit cold.
Yes.
But that's neither here nor there, I think.
They don't use this one a lot, so it's not egregious.
Yeah.
It's just also not the best.
So after this, we have the first of the event themes, and they really tried to be Uematsu on this first one. Very bouncy and happy theme. I barely remember this, I've got to be honest. If I'm not listening to this one just leaves my brain.
The event themes... So, I'm going to talk about the 4 of them right now. All of the event themes either felt very much like they were meant to be in the background.
Uh-huh.
Or they sounded like they were supposed to be the anime funny moments.
There was a lot of anime funny moments
in a bit. Yeah, I have opinions about those when we get to them.
Yeah, I will say basically none of the event themes really struck me as significant.
I do like the exploration vibe of the second event theme. The discovery vibe of it.
I didn't quite feel the second event theme. It was like okay to me. It felt like it was trying to grab the fun adventure melody of the first event theme, but make it sound more serious. And I was just, what?
The first event theme already wasn't working.
Yeah, like I like, what are you doing? But whatever.
They're doing another Limsa with that kind of adventure of the high seas theme, as far as I'm concerned.
That's probably what they were trying for, but I don't think they hit the mark, because this isn't nearly as memorable as Limsa.
You're right. Maybe it's just that, given its use as an event theme, it didn't leave quite as much as an impression in-game as it did outside of it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to skip ahead because I need to talk about this. Event theme 3 is the goofy one.
My first note for it was obligatory comedy theme. I get it.
Yep. The thing is, I think I hated every single scene where this plays, so my opinion of this music is colored by the fact that whenever it was playing, something I found just horrible was going on screen at the same time.
Oh, don't worry, I hate every 5 seconds of this song.
Shoutouts to xylophones!
The revenge!
Revenge.
I am not digging it from my shelf, but it's there.
It's
in
there.
our hearts.
Uh-huh.
And in my shelf, as I mentioned.
Yes.
Like, I'll just straight up say my notes for the third and fourth event themes. If the event 3 is obligatory comedy theme, I get it, and I don't think I enjoy this. Event 4, obligatory comedy theme, part 2, much less annoying. And pause. 1 minute later, okay, we can stop now.
Pretty much. It's the first half of this X-Pack, minor spoiler, leans a little too hard into light and fluffy, which is a good palate cleanser after Endwalker, but at the same time, like, it got old.
It's honestly I've heard about it through the grapevines, as they say, because I know a lot of people who play Final Fantasy XIV, even outside of this podcast, and the sort of more lighthearted, we are not really trying to save the world thing, is something I wish Warcraft would do, because they keep just raising the stakes, and I'm glad Final Fantasy did it.
Yeah.
If nothing else,
I
it gives
have
it
a bit of an opinion on where they might go or what might make things take an interesting turn, but that will come later.
I think that they needed to cleanse the palate before they started going back into anything, even if the palate cleanser might not have been everybody's favorite.
I don't think it was the wrong move narratively. I think it was a decent reset. Without spoiling it, there was one character in particular who started wearing very thin on me, and I'm just like, okay, you're still here? Cool. Shut up, please. Anytime now? Feel free to learn a lesson or develop in any way, shape, or form. That'd be great. No? Okay.
Square, please add the mute button for specific characters.
Which is weird, because while I hadn't started Dawntrail, I did go to my first encounter with the aforementioned character, Urqopacha, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
And I really liked one part of the intro where she stayed boisterous, but there was this brief moment where we saw her shaking a little. And this kind of showed she wasn't just another hero, but someone more in the making, but this could have been going somewhere. But if they are taking too much time making her stay at point 0, that's not going to work out.
No. Basically what it boils down to is kind of exactly what you're talking about, is that's what they were trying to do without doing it too much. She ends up basically staying the same character throughout the entire X-Pack, and I'm like, are you going to grow at any point, please?
I will have further insight as a possible conclusion.
I'm sure. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about her in particular because she's not really relevant to this. I just know that she was part of the headache surrounding the comedy themes, but there was one side character that happens especially during Event Theme 3. One side character.
I know exactly one.
And
I know exactly which one.
Your joke was mildly funny the first time. The next 6 times, not so much. Shut the fuck up.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Shoutouts to future Galen for bleeping a couple of things.
Yeah, I will. So yeah, that definitely helped my dislike towards Event Theme 3. I think that was sort of osmosis. But given that Eddie, who doesn't know this jerk, also has this opinion of this song, maybe it's just not a good song? Question mark?
It's like, it's announcing something. It's like you see a cute fluffy mascot with a smug grin, you'll know you're going to hate this character.
Pretty much.
Also, anime comedy themes, they shouldn't last this long.
Yeah.
They're there for a scene, for a bit. They're not meant to be there for more than a minute or 2.
To be fair, they are usually there for just the bit. But there's a lot of bits. There's a lot of bits.
I pray for your souls, Final Fantasy players.
Cheers.
It's... if only you knew how relevant that was. Anyway.
Ouch. Anyway, let's move on to the actual area themes. First, we have... Okay, so I live in Hawaii now, and I see an apostrophe there. I immediately want to treat it like an okina. So my pronunciation usually ends up being Kozama'uka, but that's not correct. They've been pronouncing it Kozama'uka basically in the story the whole time. So that's how I'm going to try to pronounce it. But if I end up doing the Hawaiian pronunciation, I apologize.
I'm not, because that's how I pronounce it as well.
Kozama'uka.
Yeah.
Like, even in other languages.
Just osmosis, but like, it sounded right to me when you pronounced it the Hawaiian way.
Oh.
Honestly, it's not even that. Like, I'm not a linguist. I'm far from it. But I have a huge hobby in ancient Egypt, in learning about ancient Egypt.
Right.
And when they transcribe ancient Egyptian, sometimes they use the apostrophe to mean a glottal stop. So that would be how I would pronounce it, Kozama'uka.
Okay, so I guess that's just how we're all going to pronounce it, and the localizers
I
got
guess,
it wrong, question mark? I don't know.
I guess screw you voice acting.
I guess. So here's my thought on it, and I'm just going to leave this here. This sounds more like a Mana song than it does a Final Fantasy song. Does anyone else get that impression?
That was my second note. Would probably fit right in with a Mana
it, but
series.
you are very right.
I don't know a lot about the Mana series personally, but if it sounds like that, huh?
It seems like everyone kind of gossed onto that once I said it, so apparently I was on a track there.
The aggressive vibes
Especially
reminded
since
me a
I am-
lot of the planes in the Mana series.
Yeah.
Well, he's looking forward to more of those once Visions of Mana comes out later this year. I'm looking forward to this game so much. Please be good.
I'm still nervous about it, but I hope it is good for your sake.
Thank you. But yes, it is interesting because it feels like it's setting up the mood for the South American atmosphere, but in a very understated way. Like, you have wind instruments, but it's not like full wheel of panpipes everywhere. There's a little bit of bagpipes, even at some point in transition.
So,
I
It's
wrote
just
in
trying to capture the mood without using the instruments.
I wrote in my notes wacky and atmospheric due to like the just bounciness of the whole thing and
it's a very bouncy theme.
being able to like you could feel the culture of the area through it.
I do need to note one thing. Rana mentioned the pan flutes, especially in the context of the South American vibes. Pan flutes are Greek.
Yeah,
People
that's what
think
they
they
call pan flutes. They're still popularly associated with those areas. Bad.
people think pan flutes are Inca, but the Incas had different kinds of flutes. Their flutes were not made of wood. They were either made of bone or stone. There are some
Interesting.
really cool videos on YouTube of people playing actual Incan Incan flutes.
And
So I
I will
mentioned
need
before.
to look it up.
I mentioned before, the bagpipes in there. Bagpipes originated in Spain, like they're from the Andalusians, I believe,
City bards on their travels.
right? So yeah, that them eventually migrating to something South American is at least anthropologically sound, even if it's not what anyone sane associates with the region.
Yeah, it would fit the cultural popular image of it.
And then we have the night version of the theme. Keiko's here. So for those who don't know, Keiko has been their piano concert performer for the last several fan festas and whatever. I think this is the first time she's actually on the soundtrack proper, ?
yes. Correct.
Outside of special promotional and orchestrion roles, of course.
Yeah,
Yep.
but that isn't that. This is just she did, I think, all of the area night themes.
Which oh my god.
Some are better than others.
like-
I didn't actually think much of this one. Not her
Same.
best work on the soundtrack was basically my first note.
This is probably one of the least remarkable, and I say that while keeping in mind that my first remark after listening to the soundtrack was that the next piano concert is going to be one of the best ones they'll ever do.
Oh yeah. That's assuming they let her play what she wants instead of the obvious ones.
Yeah.
There's one song in particular that I really hope she plays, and I'm worried they're not going to do it. But that's, again, neither here nor there.
But yes, this one is a little bit blurry and foggy instead of being too defined.
It's a little, yeah, I this one and another one I had a little trouble finding the melody.
I personally really enjoyed this one. I wouldn't say it was my favorite of the piano pieces, but I do prefer it over the next, the upcoming one.
Yeah,
I did think it was really, really cool.
I see where you're coming from. I think I like this one better than, I guess I'll just say it, I like this one a little better than Urqopacha Night theme, but I didn't think either of them were particularly notable compared to what I know she's capable of in some of her later stuff.
That's fair.
And I'm not surprised in the least that you like the atmospheric piano track. Like, that's a very Eddie thing.
What a shock.
Right?
I also
Please.
like it a lot. It's very ethereal with how it's... I actually did, like, write that. It actually, like, feels like it's stars glittering against the rivers of, Kozama'uka.
Honestly, if I say nothing about any of the night themes, you can just assume I enjoyed it, because it's all piano. It's all pianos.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is one in particular that I think does stand out very much and may actually be my favorite song on the whole Dawntrail soundtrack. So, it's either that or the industrial metal song.
So how about we talk about that Urqopacha Day theme?
Now, I'm hardly an expert, but I lived in Los Angeles for a while, and that gave me no small amount of experience with Mexican music. This sounds like it at least has the vibe right. I'm sure Eddie's going to correct me, but my gut check is that Urqopacha, I think it has the energy right, even if the instruments are way off sometimes. Like, there's a full-on orchestral section in here.
I don't get Mexico from this. I get Inca. And the Incas were in Chile.
You know what? I'm calling fair on that one. I don't want to say close enough because that's flagrantly untrue, but at least the South American is getting a South American vibe from this, and I'm calling that a win for this very Japanese composer team.
Like, even the name of the place, Urqopacha, I think they got inspired by Huiracocha, who's a creator dating the Inca mythology, who also had the title of Pachayachachik.
Ah.
So they clearly were drawing from Inca culture here, I think, which is why it has the flute. Because, like we just mentioned, there's this common association of flutes with the Incas.
Right.
Even though pan flutes were Incan, but they did have their own unique trademark, let's say, kind of flute. And looking at the video we were listening the music to, it has a ton of llamas, so I think my instincts were right.
So
Alpacas.
yeah, those are alpacas, and those are definitely alpacas. Like, I've been around alpacas before, and those are alpacas. But here's the thing with that. This is one of those areas that's kind of split into two sections, and I definitely hear the Incan thing you're talking about up in the mountains, but down in the valley, it is very, very much Mexico. They are obsessed with mezcal and tequila, and alpacas are everywhere, and they're mostly traders. And there's a big coffee presence as well. Like, they're definitely pushing Mexico down to the valleys.
I find it funny that you mentioned a big coffee presence, because coffee is a Brazil thing. Like, here's a fun fact. Instant coffee exists because Brazil had so much coffee lying about they needed to make a deal with Nestle to create instant coffee. Otherwise, they had to throw coffee away. That is true. Like, I think it was in the 50s or something. Brazil produced so much coffee that not enough was being used internally and not enough was being exported. So they had to make a deal with Nestle to create something new to use it.
Wow.
That's how much coffee is a Brazilian thing.
Not even that surprising. We had a whole premixes of herbs here in France that became a thing that sounds like it dates back centuries ago, but were actually made in the 60s or 70s for a similar reason.
Welcome to Music Arcade. You're going to be great at your next trivia competition.
Y'all asked me to be here. Y'all said this episode needed me. It's time for the South American Fun Facts Power Hour.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the perfect time to do it. If any time it was necessary, this is the time.
Now, to get back to the music a little bit, what my weeaboo self had as a point of comparison was Atelier Aisha, actually. Which makes sense because this game probably gets a lot of its musical influences from South America. And so it's another game that sees that musical tradition seen through a Japanese lens. So it's more parallel lines than Crossing, of course, but it's nice to have those vibes since they were excellent in Atelier Aisha and they are pretty solid here too. Like, it's an ambient track and it explains its own pretty well, I feel.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I have to say about the song is that this is where it hit me that based on the previous songs and what I was imagining was gonna come up later, which I was mostly right, is where I noted down the quote. This episode is brought to you by the word pleasant. This is pleasant. As was the previous song.
I like that word here. Pleasant. It is a pleasant song. We should... okay, sorry. I almost forgot the night theme. So the night theme version of this is also pleasant, but it's also fairly bland. My exact words were, Keiko at it again, very pretty but hard to find the melody, which is about as much of a note as I have on this.
I just re-listened to a bit of it and it has already left my brain.
Yeah.
It was nice while it was there, but it goes by like a gentle breeze.
It's not bad, but it's not something I'd seek out.
Yeah. It's not a star, and it's fine to have some extras around.
Yeah.
It's I think it's probably the least interesting of the piano pieces on the soundtrack for me. But I had to make a note here. More piano in the night themes. Oh, tell me it ain't so.
Oh no, don't give me something that I actually really enjoy.
We've already talked about all four event themes, so let's just skip straight to the battle theme. So my instant comparison for this one was Shadowbringers, which also starts very guitar heavy, but Shadowbringers was way more annoying with that regular battle theme. This one's actually like smooth, and it's got that great violin line.
I'm willing to keep this on while grinding fates.
Yeah.
That's how much I like it.
It's a good one. It's a good regular battle theme. I don't think I've liked a regular battle theme in this game since ARR, actually.
I just noted...
that...
go on.
I'll be brief. That's a theme that just really goes perfectly with the vibe of the Viper. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
For this one, I literally just noted down very summary and say it with me, pleasant.
There you go. Yeah, this is just a good, fun song. It's just, it gets me a little groove into my chair, I'll be honest.
I have level Viper, and yes, in fact, it feels great to play alongside with it. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, resident Viper expert.
Yeah, I'm really fond of the guitars on this one because like they aren't trying to be overly emotive, let's say. Like, not trying to be overly aggressive. They're there to add some more texture to it, I guess, and to play a cool melody.
Soken is finally learning some guitar restraint after all these years.
Yeah, which it's funny because my main point of focus isn't even on the guitar for this song, and a few other songs as well. It's in the percussion. Like, this one has claps. Just to chill you on while you're fighting.
Yeah. I also love that violin. It's got an almost Yoko Shimomura / Ace Plus / Xenoblade kind of sound of the violins that I think are really cool.
Yeah. And also there's a possible comparison to be made with the tone of Vamos a la Flamenco.
Yeah. And I was a little surprised we didn't get Vamos a la Flamenco. And then I remembered, wait, they already used that for the dancer theme, so we can't.
Yes.
Just going back to what Rana said about the drums, the rhythm section, I think is fair to say. I like the rhythm section of pretty much every song that had one. I mentioned at the top that it didn't sound South American to me, but that doesn't mean it sounded unpleasant. I liked, I think, pretty much every song's rhythm section. It's always really, really nicely done.
And after that we have Yak Tural Town 1, which I have exactly one phrase in my notes. Meh, it's a town theme.
Yeah.
The song title is apparently Pastoral Pleasures, and my note is the title says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's jaunty, it's the theme of the alpacas and the tone around them.
Yeah, I think, like, if I have a problem with it, is that the loop is kind of short. So in the video version, it kind of comes off as repetitive because the loop is short. But it's pleasant.
Sure.
We're back to that word.
I have a feeling we're going to be hearing it a lot.
I told you this episode was going to be brought up by the word pleasant.
The swords it could have been brought us by.
Do we have any other notes on this, or should we move on?
No.
Yeah, okay. So now we have our first dungeon, Ihuykatumu. I totally butchered that because I'm a white guy who doesn't know how to pronounce this.
You did better than what I could have done.
Ihuykatumu.
Thank you.
I would have said, I think, Ihuykatumu, but you guys probably know it better than I
I'm just
do.
doing guesswork here.
So this is a remix of the Kozama'uka theme, and it sounds good. It's got this bouncy energy. This one had me jamming a bit. This one was another like groove in my chair moment.
I wouldn't even call it bouncy per se. I can definitely see why that'd be brought up. But what it inspires me most is that they added the energy of a match, because that was also revealed before the expansion launch. It's a competition at this point, and so they have, especially again in the percussions, that add a lot of this energy. It feels like you are in a football field. Or a race, indeed.
That makes so much sense, because this song felt like what a Japanese person thinks Brazil is like.
I mean, it's either that or Carnival.
But yeah, like it literally has some instrumentation that you would hear in during Carnival here. Like some of the drumming, again, it's not syncopated correctly. Samba in Brazil doesn't really have its own clave. It's actually played more improv. Like there's no set rhythm for samba drums, but the drums used here are similar to what you would hear in samba. They use a whistle, not like someone whistling, but the instrument, the whistle. You know what guards use to draw attention sometimes. You hear that in samba during Carnival sometimes here. The piano melody, when it kicks in some points in the song, it reminded me of a piano song, which I think would fall into what we in Brazil would call it MPB or MPB as a genre. In the US, MPB and bossa nova kind of conflated into the same thing.
Okay.
But that piano melody reminded me of a piece that I think would fall into MPB, that is often used during soccer games here on TV.
Huh.
And And just for clarity's sake, MPB stands for Música Popular Brasileira, or Brazilian Popular Music. It's related to bossa nova, but different and a bit more energized.
Okay.
But yeah, it's this song. It is not bad, but I think because I understand Brazilian culture like I do from being Brazilian, this felt lacking somewhat.
Yeah. This
That's
didn't
fair.
feel genuine, right?
It's something like that, yeah.
I can see that.
I think a big thing is that Brazilian music, especially the Afro-Brazilian rhythms that they are drawing from here, is always very full of energy. And this song doesn't have that energy. It is fun and all that, but it isn't energetic like real samba.
Right. And I think that's intentional because you don't want to have that much rush energy in most dungeons.
Yeah.
That is
And
fair.
speaking of the way it's adapted to the structure of a dungeon, I also like that while the core of the music is not that long a loop, they vary the bridges, which add... it prevents you from being bored from one pull to the next.
Yes.
Yeah. The atmosphere that has been able to be built by both the music and the visuals for this expansion, with variance and all of that,
Yeah.
has been wonderful.
I will say, again, just a brief Dawntrail review, spoiler-free, the environmental design of this expansion is the best it has ever been. Perfect marks on this. Every environment is amazing, and the music plays into that a lot.
That is lovely to hear.
Yeah.
Seemed really good from what I saw on those videos.
Yeah. I was blown away by the environmental design. It's my biggest commendation on this expansion. They just knocked it out of the park. What they didn't knock out of the park is Midboss's theme. Except this isn't Midboss's theme because you never fight Midboss to this music. Zorraal Ja isn't here. I had to make the joke. You know I had to make the joke.
I know you had to make the joke. I personally think this theme is more dynamic than the actual Endboss theme for a dungeon.
I would agree with you. We'll talk about that one later. The Midboss theme is fine. This is the one point where I think Endwalker wins, is that the boss musics for the dungeons are way better at Endwalker. I don't have much of, I don't really remember this song outside of hearing it when I'm playing. Unlike On Blade's Edge, or we'll talk about it later, especially Finality.
I guess my main issue for this song is that if you made me listen to Dawntrail's main theme and then asked me what would the general dungeon boss theme sounded like, I would have pictured in my mind a carbon copy of this song. It's exactly what you expect it to be.
Yeah. It's
honestly, this is a little bit of a spoiler for other songs coming up on this episode, but this is the first one where we come across a song with what I think is meant to be very rich orchestration, and usually I really like those. Soken is really good at those, but this time, I think pretty much every time there's like what you could call an orchestra or whatever playing, it feels oddly generic, or at least not as unique as it usually is for Final Fantasy XIV. Felt like a little bit of a letdown to me.
I didn't actually eloquate that like you did, but I agree. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. The more traditional Final Fantasy sounding songs in this X-Pack are kind of the weakest ones here.
Like they sound cool for what it's worth. They all sound cool still. This one has a horn section that goes really nicely, but it's okay. It ticks the boxes.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this one, I don't want to call it a misfire because I don't think the song is bad. I think that's grossly overstating it. It's perfectly listenable. I just don't think it has the same, like, it doesn't have the same memorability. It doesn't have the same energy as a lot of the other musics in the franchise.
Yeah, it has a fine texture, but lacks a bit of spice.
Yes.
It's not a misfire, it's just not using the full potential of the composers that we have heard using their full potential in previous expansions.
Yes. The obvious comparison to this, as I said, is On Blade's Edge from Endwalker, which is an infinitely more interesting and better song.
Yeah. Anyway, moving to the Dungeon Boss theme.
The Dungeon Boss theme, yes. Which sounds like the diet version of the song that was already just fine.
Yeah. I think just fine is about as much as I could really give this song.
Honestly, for full transparency, on the previous song, in my notes, I was trying to hold punches. I was trying to not be too harsh. When this song hit, I was just, this is generic.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It feels... Soken, we love you, but this feels a little phoned in.
It does.
That one I'm willing to call a misfire.
Yeah, I think this is. Especially, again, like, over the course of Endwalker, I found myself disliking that expect more and more, but the one thing I liked more and more was the Dungeon Boss theme. I think Finality may actually be my favorite Dungeon Boss theme in the entire game right now. This does not do a good job of following up that energy.
No, it does not.
I do my best to not be too harsh to Final Fantasy XIV, because I know there's a lot of like context that I'm missing, and sometimes it draws from previous games in the franchise, or games that are releasing now that they want to just sort of integrate some things in there, so often I'm missing a lot of context, but this time I just couldn't. It's just uninteresting.
Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to call a spade if you don't understand it. Like, this is just... I don't think I've heard anyone really try to defend this song.
The best I can do is I like the piano notes, but that's me.
I have a note for this, actually.
By all means.
That I remember from when I was thinking about it originally. This sounds like To Sail Forbidden Seas from Final Fantasy XVI, but watered down and make it Dawntrail.
There's a lot of this. Like, listen to what we're all saying. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but it isn't this. And you're like, it's fine, but it's watered down 16. I think everyone's kind of on the same page here. I think this one just doesn't click.
Yes.
It exists. We can agree it exists.
It is a song that exists. Here's a song I wish that didn't exist. And that's the vocal version of the Dawntrail Main Theme. This is the one song that I outright dislike.
Yeah.
And the reason is very simple. Koji Fox, you are not a singer. Get away from the microphone. This is starting to sound like a vanity project for you. You should not be singing the main theme of anything.
I liked him for the Alexander Raid series.
I am so glad I'm not the only one who noted that down. I didn't know who was singing. I just noted down that I really did not like the vocal. The male vocals specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an okay performance singer. Like, he's the singer for the Primals. We've covered him before.
And I kinda hated him last time we did it.
I don't blame you. He's deeply mediocre, and it's fun seeing him live playing the music live, but he's not a professional musician, and that's very clear, and he has no business being the lead vocalist on a main theme. I'm sorry, he just doesn't.
Yeah.
I kind of like what they were trying to do with how the vocals work with the guitar transitions, but they needed a better singer.
Yeah.
I will say, if there's any expansion's main theme I would like to have Koji Fox sing in, this should be the one. Because, again, of the theme of the more relaxed breather expansion. And we can call the guy next office over to have a little sing.
I think that...
I gravely disagree with that.
I kind of see what you're going for, because it's the let's have some fun expansion from what I understand, but at least he should have sung in a different style and not this harsh. Because this harsh style of singing really isn't giving the vibes of fun summer party.
Yeah, unfortunately, without a vocoder, that's the only voice he has. Again, he's not a professional singer. Like, this is where you grab old friend Jason Charles Miller and have him do a different voice. He could do smooth. Or literally any other male or female professional singer you guys have worked with or will work with in the future. Like, it's amazing. There are other vocal tracks on this soundtrack, and they all sound better because they're not using Fox. I don't know.
I guess that includes the female vocal parts of this song?
Yeah, they sound better.
I like those.
Yeah.
That's Amanda Aiken.
They do feel like they are coming out of nowhere and just being dropped in the middle of another song.
Yeah, they're basically there to say, look, don't criticize the vocals. We know Fox is here, but look at the shiny thing.
Okay, that's because you don't have the context. The context is, look, there's another class besides Viper. Here is a way too long section of just Kryl doing Picto things.
The trailer.
Am
for
I
this
wrong?
The trailer for that part, I was like, yeah.
Oh,
So what you're
I
say-
didn't think of that, but
what-
you're right.
What you're saying is I got the reasoning wrong, but I still got the vibe right of look at the shiny thing.
Correctamundo.
So, moving on past our
Actually-
gripes against the Fox.
Actually, you would have hit the nail on the head if you said, look at the pretty colors instead of look at the shiny thing.
I don't know. Have you seen some of the dresses Amanda Aiken wears? I think look at the shiny thing is pretty valid.
Okay, no, you have a point.
Of course you would be the one to say that.
Oh, because
Alright.
I've
He
seen
went
her
to
in
the
concert like
concerts.
4 times. She knows how to doll it up for a show. Sorry. That's not even me being horny. That is literally the thing.
Yeah, no.
We want to cut that part out.
I
A
think we
little,
could
but
No,
I
no.
might not.
I honestly just take it first degree and, yeah, a shiny dress is a shiny dress.
Right?
No need to be a hornbot about it.
I think I killed
Sometimes-
Pam.
I'm just.
Sometimes a second is just a second.
Pretty much.
Worqor Zormor!
Worqor Zormor, Dungeon 2, which is a, like, big, majestic, and mysterious remix of Urqopacha. And it works? I like this one.
I love
Yeah,
this one.
I like
This was a.
It really feels like the assumption of a peak that it's presumably supposed to be.
Yeah.
And
It's the tallest
it's
mountain
something-
in all of
yeah.
Tural.
There's no reason to say that specific thing. But yeah, no, Rand hit the nail on the head. It's a mountain.
fine.
It's a mountain theme.
yeah, and they've practiced that kind of vibe with the entirety of Heavensward already.
Yeah, I
So-
even flat out say in my notes, harkens back to some of the mountain dungeons of old, like Sobal.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff.
Yeah,
While
I have
also having the testing energy of Bardom's Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have none of that context. I only have 2 notes for this one, and one of them is probably more gameplay related. The first one is that it sounds like going to a glorious exploration mission, which it seems like it's
Kind
what
of
it
is, yeah. That's not horribly far off.
And the other is, it's kind of a question to those who have played the game, because I feel like the view from this peak is either a glorious view from up above, or the sky is completely overcast and it's crap.
Both.
There's no in between.
There's a section where that is, and there's a section that's totally open, and you can see it. It's gorgeous.
Okay, so I was doubly right, I guess.
Yep.
But this is a neat song. I think out of the songs that have orchestration, this is the one I have the least problem with the orchestration. It sounds exactly like what it wants to be, and it sounds neat.
I like the use of snare rim strikes on the percussion. I think that's a cool use of that technique.
Yeah, the percussion is consistently good on this entire soundtrack, in my opinion. Even the songs that have like orchestration that I don't enjoy, the percussion is great.
All right, now we're moving on to the first trial, Valigarmanda.
Yep.
Yeah. basically, I feel like they had essentially two paths they could have taken. One being play a lot into the Final Fantasy VI relation, and the other being to just integrate it fully, make it part of the area, part of the zone, and they drifted all the way to the second choice is so hard.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with FF6's music.
Yeah. Which is not a bad choice, it is definitely a decision.
I'll say this, I've been hearing this one a lot because I've been farming it with Zoraal. We've been farming the EX of this for weaponry. But I gotta be honest, I don't dislike this song in any way, shape, or form. It's nice. It's not particularly memorable. Like, I don't find myself, like, humming it or thinking it. I do like the percussion, as Eddie keeps saying. It's been pretty great. But
this feels like part of the previous song, but it doesn't feel like it's apex.
Yeah.
I feel like personally, after, like, the bunch of farming that I've done, it has begun to slightly wear on me, but that's probably just because of farming fatigue.
You've cleared it, what, like, you said 23 times?
11.
Oh, 11. Wow. Oh, I think it was Aeon who said 23. Yeah, I've only cleared it 3 times myself so far, so I don't have quite that, but we listened to it for like 4 hours last night, so whatever. Yeah, I don't mind this one. I don't think it's bad. It is fun. The percussion's great. But it just to have that same memorability. Like, the comparison actually came from... I think, Randy, you'll understand what I mean on this one specifically. Yesterday, me and Zoraal were doing our roulettes, and for trial, we got Ravana. Now, I don't like that song. I've been very open about not liking that song, but I'll be damned if it doesn't stick in your mind. You remember that one.
That's funny, because I was thinking of other comparison points, and besides Endwalker even, to go further back, but I didn't go quite to Ravana. I went to the one after, and Beauty's Wicked Wiles, it leaves a mark, you know?
Yeah.
This one doesn't really.
Kinda doesn't. Like, it's nice, but it isn't hitting that, like, ooh.
This is kind of the song where it hit me that the orchestration thing would be a recurring issue. Because I like the piano and the percussion, but the strings are just Final Fantasy XIV by numbers.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
So, moving from...
Yep, now we are in Zone 3, Yak T'el. So I have a thing that I think Rana and Zeral's going to understand, and I'm sorry to leave you out of this one, Eddie. I noticed some familiar vocal samples here.
Do you know?
I feel like I knew where this was going.
Lahi?
No, this has nothing to do with Lahi. This actually reminds me of Gangos, which makes me think this vocal sample is meant specifically for the Hrothgar.
Ah, I see.
That's where I was going with this.
Yeah. Then I was wrong as well. But yeah, that's definitely something I can hear, which is funny because that theme, Ganga's theme, was Australian inspired.
Yeah, I mean, they're different zones and cultures they're in. Yeah, they do talk about that in the X-Pack, but they are both Hrothgar strongholds, and they do have that same vocal sample. So I think that's meant to be like the Hrothgar's thing.
Well, that's not bad that they have a musical stinger like that.
Yeah. Anyway, now, Eddie, I would love to hear your impression of this. I just had to get that out of the way.
It's alright, I think. Honestly, between the vocal samples, the very, 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 very light use of the cello here and there, it kind of felt like Horizon Zero Dawn at home for me. Like, we have Horizon Zero Dawn at home. This is it. Just...
Okay, but...
I wish I remembered a single note of Horizon Zero Dawn soundtrack.
Honestly, the energy that you just described, actually, I can see it in this zone.
Yeah. Now that you...
Yeah, I to be clear, I've touched on Horizon Zero Dawn, and I don't disagree with Galen. I don't remember the melodies off the top of my head either. It's just, it kind of sounds like a cheaper version of that soundtrack, because that soundtrack sounded more grandiose, let's say. This one sounded like it was trying to get there, but didn't.
Yeah, it's aimed for an area that seems to be mostly wildlands and jungles, and doesn't really communicate all that much about it, I feel.
Yeah.
The intro does a good job on sounding jungle-y, but the intro goes away really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the night theme has about as much strength of personality as the day theme. And given how subdued that night theme is, that's kind of an indictment.
Yeah,
Honestly,
my notes on the night
really-
theme are pretty harsh. And my line is, I'm starting to wonder if Keiko is a one-trick pony as an arranger. This isn't like her far more varied concert
Spoiler,
work.
she isn't.
No, she isn't. She gets much more interesting to me after this, but this is where I'm like,
Yes.
uh-oh. Are all these going to sound the same a little
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah, I
said-
kind of like how the vocal melody of the day theme translated into a piano melody, but beyond that,
Yeah.
the piano piece probably was one of the weaker ones on the soundtrack.
I have a different mental perspective on that.
Okay.
And it mainly comes from a gameplay experience of entering lower Yak T'el. And this theme playing alongside it.
Okay, I guess I don't want to get too spoilery for obvious reasons, but
Thank you.
I can kind of see that, yeah.
Having the night theme playing while I was coming into that lower area was a bit magical.
Okay. Okay.
Assuming that's what I'm thinking it is from the video, I can get that.
Let's move on before we start spoilering.
Yeah. No, sorry. That
that's-
was a experience from my playthrough that I was like, yeah, no, I like this theme because I have a very good this is
And it's
full on.
it's entirely fair to share your opinion of your unique experience, much like how I have been sharing my unique experience of not liking how they try to introduce South American sounds into the soundtrack and failing.
So, life by honor. Life
So,
by honor.
here we have Yak Tural Town Theme 2, and my first notes are this is very FF9. Good? Good job?
My first notes are very pastoral and calm again. Stay with me, pleasant.
Yay!
It. I would slightly disagree. It feels slightly disconcerting.
Really?
I
For
didn't get
me,
that.
at
For me,
It feels
me,
like it
I'm kinda close
like
to
there's
that.
there's a slight bit of interesting pulling here and there that leaves it slightly uncanny for me.
Honestly, maybe I've played too much WoW, because in Mist of Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor and a little bit in Legion, those 3 expansions, the Orcish Horde had their very strong themes, very militaristic themes. And if you know anything about Warcraft, you know that every other word said by an orc in Warcraft is honor. So when I saw a track titled Life Bound by Honor, I was kind of weirded out that it was this calm.
it feels like the theme for a town that's 3 times too large for the amount of inhabitants in there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It feels like it feels almost like it's longing in a way.
Yeah.
For more.
But what I really like is the background strings that vibrate in a way that feels like it's a little bit off in a pleasant way, if anything. Like, it doesn't try to go for a smooth harmony, but for a bit more of a trill.
I think it's also fair to note that Rana and Sam are talking about it sounding a little bit off, and I am talking about how I don't get that, and I am the guy who listens to dark ambient music on the rag, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
If anyone's going to get this, it would be you.
Yep.
No, I mean, if there's anyone who wouldn't listen to this and say,
Yeah,
this sounds
wouldn't
off,
be
that would be
fazed.
me. I am not fazed by this at all. This is calm. This is relaxing. I listen to music titled Ashes of Angels. Like, this is fine, man.
Fair
Hearing
enough.
psycho strings for relaxation.
Yeah, like horror jump scare strings. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. Vibes, man. Vibe.
Okay, vibes. On the subject of vibes, next up we have Dungeon 3, and that's the Skydeep Cenote. And
Vibe.
very
Yeah.
haunting. Good use of vocal samples. I like this a lot.
My first note, I like the piano and the ethereal vibes in the vocals. So, nice accidental segue, Galen.
There was nothing accidental about that, my friend. I
This-
didn't write the words, but I knew what was going to be said.
This,
What a professional.
This is the sort of music folks who listen to this podcast know I am into. Ethereal vocals. That's my jam.
I like the use of
This
classical
is
guitar
the
here.
song. This is the song I hoped the main dungeon in Shadowbringers would have been.
Oh god. Melchia's Well was so bad. It was
Yeah,
a bad
Melchia's
dungeon and the
Well,
music
thank you.
sucked.
Yeah, that would have been a great theme for that too.
Yeah, I don't know what sort of string instruments they're using here, but it worked really well too. Like, it's not just the vocals and the piano. Even though I am the ethereal vocals and piano guy, whatever string instrument is here, it's really cool and adds a lot to the environment, I suppose you could say. The
Right.
ambience.
It elevates the Yak T'el theme in a way that adds to the, like, adventurousness of it.
It is surprisingly calm for an adventurous thing, but I can see it working.
Yeah,
I
it's calm, but
think-
it has personality.
I think its more tragic nature fits the vibe of the zone, but
Yeah.
I have that context, and I understand that you wouldn't.
Of course.
And that leads us from South America to North, as Shaaloani is the official cowboy zone.
Well, howdy, partner.
I mean, you look at the title of the song, the Cerulean Smoke at High Noon. Like,
Uh-huh.
is that an okay corral?
And, Rana, I wish you were joking as much as you think you are, but this is where we start getting some real dodgy southern accents.
Oh, boy.
Excellent. Hire me, Square Enix.
This is also where we start seeing our first American voice actors in a very long time, and I'm just going to bring this up. Erica Mendez, Eric Bra, and Anieres Quinones all started voicing characters here, along with a bunch of Europeans doing very dodgy American accents. So,
On the matter of southern US, I just want to make it clear, I did not do that y'all in the intro because of this, but if it works, it was planned, okay?
Completely
Yeah.
planned.
Perfect.
Keikakudori.
it is good seeing that this is now an international production officially, because now, for the first time since ARR, we have American actors again.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Yeah.
And Erica Mendez herself was like super excited she got the role, and I'm like, that's awesome. I when I saw her name in the credits, I actually didn't think it was her. I thought it was some other Erica Mendez from Spain or something, and I told her that outright.
The Mexican version.
Yeah.
No, the Spain version. This is all in Europe. Like, is where these recordings are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was making a joke because of the region in the game.
I guess that's fair. As for the song itself,
that's a-
Shaaloani Day, snore.
Very solid vibe to me.
Okay.
It's
Oh.
a good vibe to just rest to.
I got nothing
Or
out of the
just
song.
move around slowly, trotting around on your mount of choice.
I can easily see myself just chilling out to this. Like, I might not
Yeah.
remember the melody, but it is a song that I would leave in the background to chill out. I dig it.
There was a lot of good music
I-
for that kind of stuff in this expansion.
I was also a bit
Also-
surprised with how the piano worked with the guitars on this one. I didn't think they would fit together very well, but it worked.
Also, besides the obvious Western vibes, what I got from some of the guitars at, I think it's more transition points, was a bit of Persona 4 of all things.
Huh.
Interesting.
I
in
didn't
the
catch that.
choice and use of instruments, the like doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo, a little bit reflective and ambient, and I'm having a hard time expressing how to describe that sound, but it feels like I heard it before there.
I don't know.
In the tone parts, in the events, but
Yeah.
definitely not in the action parts, because that theme has absolutely. It is the opposite of action. It is very much a time of rest more than anything.
I think the bigger irony for this theme for me is that the night version, despite being another piano piece, sounded a bit closer to Western to me. I think because of like saloon vibes or something.
Yeah, it's definitely mixed with more of a honky-tonk piano, which is very on the nose.
It kind of comes
yeah.
off as Southern Gothic.
That's a good way to put it. I think the night theme is actually, this is the first time the night theme is more interesting than the day theme. I actually like this one quite a
Agreed.
bit.
I agree.
Agreed, and I like the
Yeah.
day theme.
Same.
But I like the night theme even more. It has a bit of a sleazy atmosphere to it.
I like the. I mean, yeah, it's supposed to sound like a sleazy saloon theme and outlaw bass and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly.
When the soundtrack officially releases on streaming, if they don't mix the two versions together and they leave the night version as its own track, I'm definitely listen to that again and again.
They
'cause
usually will.
I love the Southern Gothic vibe.
I was afraid you were going to say this was going in your workout playlist.
I don't
I
think
have
it's
my
fast
limit.
enough for that by any stretch.
No, this is way too light for my workout playlist. Come on. Incidentally, I will note I have a playlist I made back when I worked in customer support that's just called In Case of Emergency, Click the Playlist. It has gotten much, much harsher over the years.
Ooh.
Punk rock used to be the worst it had. Now it has death metal. It has, I think, Otherworld is the name of that track from Final Fantasy. It has that sort of stuff.
The one that for some reason people thought were by Rammstein. That sounds nothing like Rammstein.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Doesn't even
No.
sound like industrial metal.
Yeah. For the Xak Tural Town theme, my exact words were, ha 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 ha, no. Boring. Next.
It's just a western town. Enough said.
Yep.
Moving on.
Yep.
Yep.
I've heard this and so much better by Ennio Morricone, and this is
Yeah,
no
it-
Ennio Morricone.
It reminded me a little bit of the Japanese composer Tsunoe Mahori, a name I bring up now and then, because he did the Trigun anime soundtrack, the original one. And he was also the guitarist for Seatbelt, who did Cowboy Bebop. But this sounds like a more watered down version of his work, because his thing was always like at least for Trigun, was make sure it sounds Western or deserty, but mix in other cultures, mix in some jazz, mix in some chill stuff. There's a song where he mixes some samba elements even. That's his jam, and this is kind of what this song is doing. It's mixing a few different cultures, but this is like much less interesting than what it does, I'll be honest.
Yeah, don't really have anything much to add there.
Yeah, I think you said more than I could have possibly come up with, so thank you.
Yep.
Now
Alright.
to the next theme. It's funny because I heard it before I read the title as Somber City theme. And without that, this felt like a perfectly nice, relaxing nighttime campfire song.
Yep. Like I noted down that I imagine this works better in context, because on its own it just gives off a vibe of like, it's sundown, let's wind down things, let's calm down. The day is ending.
I'm really glad to have this outside context, because I still think of it in terms of the events of the game at this point in time, and
Yeah.
I don't think of it like that, but I'm really glad to hear this alternate take on it.
I saw the comments, I can imagine. But the vibe I got was like, the guitars are just, let's wind down, let's calm down. And then the rest of the instrumentation is trying to do this is actually sad, dude. You should be crying right now.
Okay.
Nah, I'm chilling around the campfire. I'm grilling marshmallows. I'm having a good time.
Huh.
Huh.
I'm going to need to listen to this song again with that context in mind. That may have given it the shot in the arm I needed, because when I'm not listening to this, it kind of leaves my brain. I got to be honest.
Yeah, like, maybe this is honestly a case of a nice song misused, which is very surprising for this game.
It's very surprising, and I think it kind of comes back to Eddie's brilliant keyword, and that's pleasant. And I think the pleasantness got into the sad song a little too hard. Maybe what's going on here.
I said this episode was brought by that word.
Yeah, but that's actually a good point. Like, yeah.
I think
like, pleasant as a detriment is interesting.
Yeah, if I got this correctly, it seemed like they reused the main melody for a city, but they reused it in a very, for lack of a better term, somber moment.
I mean, it's right there in the name, Somber City, so yes.
Yeah. I think it's the melody of the town in question, of the city in question, might have just been too happy to just reuse it for the somber scene.
Can confirm, knowing what city this is.
They survive and thrive. It surprisingly, this felt a lot more survive and thrive than Rod-Zit-Con after the whole final day shenanigans.
Yeah, I imagine like the main issue here is that they like to reuse their motif in Final Fantasy XIV.
They do.
I think this is a moment where that reusage, for lack of a better term, just wasn't the ideal. Like I get that it can still affect people who played through this, but it could have been better.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, nobody wants an ad read on the defibrillator.
Nobody wants an ad read on their defibrillator. That's where we're going with this. Okay, that's a sentence you just said.
Oh boy,
that is.
That's like Cyberpunk 2077 levels of world building you got there.
Or Shadowrun, for that matter.
Yeah, we are about to get to the big plot twist of the expansion, so those who wish to remain unspoiled, cover your ears now. So,
although some of it has been revealed to a degree in the pre-release material.
Yes, but I'm going to talk about something fairly specific at the moment.
Yeah, I was gonna joke, and this is about how this is where Rana just runs off and doesn't show up back for the rest of the episode.
So there's this movie that I like that basically nobody else did. Roger Ebert thought it was terrible. I'm one of the few people who will defend this movie. I'm not a big Western fan as a genre. Do you know what Westerns need? An alien invasion. So the movie with Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford, Cowboys versus Aliens, I actually have a real soft spot for this movie, despite, everyone kind of thinking it's bad.
Never saw it. I just looked at the trailer and laughed.
So
I mean, that's a valid response. It's pretty stupid, but it's good stupid.
The Shaaloani theme.
Well, I'm just saying that all of a sudden, our little Mesoamerican and Western, adventure got cut off by what is essentially an alien invasion. Let's go raid their base. So now we're in Vanguard, where we take a hard turn into sci-fi. And
yeah, but at the same time, you said at the previous song that there was a shot in the arm needed. This feels like the shot in the arm.
Literally the wording in here. This was the shot in the arm this X-Pack needed. Right there in my notes.
Yes.
I sat through watching Galen's playthrough, and as soon as he got to here, he was smiling for almost the rest of the X-Pack.
Oh, yeah. This was such a vibe.
Yeah, but you need to be careful with how you bring up suddenly aliens. But when you make it work...
Oh, they made it work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with how you're describing it, my mind is going back to Kirikara Surprising. And it's always a good sign when my mind goes there.
I think you'll enjoy this segment of the game. I won't spoil much about it, but this dungeon is awesome. Super techno, really cool gear set, and this music is Final Fantasy by way of Phantasy Star and Yakuza. I actually get Yakuza vibes off of this. It feels like a lot of
have
battle.
been grinding this dungeon for gear sets, and it is... This is one of the only dungeons that I do not turn off the in-game music and go to my own music off the side.
And it's funny because with where it is in the expansion by level and last digit of the level, it's probably it feels tonally like a sci-fi shift from one of my favorite dungeon themes, which is Gates of the Moon.
So
it has a very different instruments, very different texture, but the similar vibe of going to a place to just bash the front gates and wreck it.
That is exactly what's happening here.
Galen, would you like to give any more insight on the fact, comparisons between this and Endwalker in terms of, just story stuff, or do you think that'd be too spoilers?
This is the this is the level equivalent of Catesis, right? This is when the story of Endwalker started going really wrong for me.
But
yeah, this was the opposite of Catesis. This wasn't the end of what could have been a good story. This was the beginning of something really awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, and if you're going to start something like that, might as well start it with a bang. This feels like that bang.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This completely shifted how Dawntrail was going, both in general and in specific. It took a much darker tone.
Even right before the dungeon.
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, things had totally flipped on their head.
Turns out that the Dawntrail we were taking was towards the stars.
The Somber City theme is, right at about level 80, not 86, 96, is where things get, things swapped.
Yeah, things take a hard turn, and it works to its advantage, because they really do set up certain expectations. They just change gears in a way that I think works really well.
Now, what I will say, and what I imagine is something that comes up, especially when you're grading it for set, is that it has a little bit the twinning problem, where you're going through the dungeon, you're having a great time with the music, and suddenly, oh no, it's the boss music again.
A little
Stop
bit,
interrupting the cool theme.
A little bit, yeah. Unfortunately, that is accurate. Shocker, this is my favorite dungeon theme in the X-Pack. Oh no. Right? Like, who didn't see that coming? Yeah, this is when things started getting good. I was, like, doing okay with the X-Pack up to this point. I wasn't angry with it, but I was more tolerating it than anything else. This is where things actually get good. This is like, oh, this weird stuff is what you were setting up. Okay, interesting. Sure. Which leads us to, for lack of a better term at this point in time, the alien homeland. Again, for lack of a better term, the specifics aren't exactly this, but we get to Heritage Found. My favorite zone in the entire game.
Yeah.
And that the music is definitely a part of that.
This stepping into this zone for the first time.
You redeemed the Thunder Plains from FF10. How did you do this?
And I want to jump off of that because I have the exact same thought I had with Valigarmanda, which is that they could have gone with the reference, which I would have loved, especially in this case, because for all the justified hatred that Thunder Plains go, I really like the music theme there. And they went another complete direction, which I didn't put it in words, but with the context you provided before, it absolutely sounds like an alien invasion theme.
So, damn it, I have something I could respond to, but if I do, it's a big spoiler, and I don't think I want to do that. There are musical clues to what's going on in here.
If you want to get it out of your system, I can take off my headphones for like 1 minute. Sounds good?
I will just ping you when I'm done.
Alright.
Okay, I assume Ran is clear. Yeah, so the reason there isn't any FF10 in here is because the Thunder is kind of separate to the fact that we're in Alexandria now, so we're getting FF9 notes into the music. So we're hearing parts of Ihuykatumu, we're hearing parts of the main theme. The musical clues went not from FF10, but FF9, because now this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just ping Rana and let him know we're back.
Can't believe you just go out and say Vanguard died.
Right? Is Thancred even in this part of the game? I don't know. I don't remember. Okay, then.
I will say, like, I didn't get any of that context for very obvious reasons.
Right.
But the main vibe I got here is it's kind of a long sentence, but stick with me. I wrote it down as, quote, "We are way too close to the enemy for comfort, and they are just ominously standing there and looking at us." End quote.
It's looming.
Boy, howdy, is it.
It's like you're looking at Darth Vader, and he's looking at you, sizing you up, and you're going, "Oh, crap."
I think zone-wise, you're more looking at the Death Star than you are Darth Vader, but yeah, basically.
What I'm thinking of is a moment in Earth Defense Force 5.
Okay.
Where there's an escalation. You start with the building size ants and you build up from there. And so at a point, the aliens stop sending ships and they just start covering the Earth hex by hex. And you just have giant invincible hex-shaped surfaces that are built up during the level, covering the skies completely. This feels like the kind of music that would fit that mood.
Yeah.
Like the kind of apocalyptic event that doesn't explode.
Yeah, that sounds pretty right. Yeah, it should come as no shock that this song is just out of this world good.
Was that pun intended?
No, it wasn't, but I realized I was saying it and decided to just go for it.
Yeah, and if they were cowards, they would have went with something equally electronic for the night theme, but no, they stuck to their guns with the piano, and I think it really works very well
This
here.
is Keiko's magnum opus and one of my top 5 favorite songs of the entire Final Fantasy XIV. This song, this night theme for Heritage Found, is so good.
It is masterful.
It is brilliant. I love how the piano and the techno weave together. I love how haunting it is. The musical references I mentioned while Randa's headphones were off are still present, but now more, you can hear them clearer if you know what you're listening for.
It
She
feels...
You wouldn't think the day-night cycle would matter so much in such a shaded zone.
While the day theme feels like the Death Star staring you in the face, sizing you up, this one feels like you hiding and moving through cover to avoid the enemy's gaze as you try and figure out what to do next.
Oh yeah.
That's a good way of thinking. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because of that background tapped piano that feels like you're scuttling around.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about much about the zone's design, as that is extremely spoilerific. However, I definitely believe that it ties into at least part of that later. I can't say anything else without spoiling it, so I'm going to just shush, but I think the sneaking around vibe is very appropriate.
One thing that I really appreciate about the night theme here is that it kind of it almost feels like it wants to taunt you with the calm vibes at the start, but then it just hits that really deep note on the piano and nope, no calm here. Forget that. We're diverting course.
This song in particular is what I sent to Eddie, irrespective of this episode, listen to this. You're gonna love this one. This is a very Eddie song.
I didn't listen to it at the time because of time, but you were correct.
So moving on to the Hideout theme.
Which is literally just a remix of Tantalus from FF9. That's all this is.
Oh,
But
that's what it was. I knew that melody, but I didn't remember from where.
In the same vibe as the Garlean radio.
Radio Garlemald.
Yes.
The Garlemald radio from Endwalker.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have none of that context, so my notes are just lo-fi hip-hop without the hip-hop.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going to, because, the hook, the start with the radio sounds do bring back to Garlemald radio. It really goes in the lo-fi hip-hop instead of lo-fi, maybe not hip-hop, but definitely lo-fi, instead of the more tragic old-timey feel that Garlemald radio had.
The lo-fi something.
What this Hideout theme as a theme for Hideout makes me think of is in past adventures we had places like the Falling Sands and the Rising Snows and whatever, and then also the inn in Shaaloani, hideouts where you were with the whole gang and setting up your next course for action. With the low-key tone of it, this one feels like you are recovering and resting, but you are also feeling that your support isn't around. You can't easily reach out those that might help you.
Correct and accurate.
Especially because it's the theme for a troop then, but in this lo-fi kind of more down and as a result tonally isolated version. So yeah, it's a nice counterpoint. It's using something to take the complete other direction in a way that makes complete sense. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I don't know if it's really cool. It's the Tantalus theme. It's Uematsu. Of course it is.
Yeah.
So, do we want to move on to your favorite city in the game?
Yeah. I I was telling everyone, basically, like, when the expansion was still ongoing, I didn't know which city I liked better, Crystarium or Tuliyollal. I like them both a lot. Like, they're just great. And then I got to Solution 9, and they both just instantly lost. Like, it wasn't even close.
It's honestly funny to see that they went with naming the future city after a limit break move from Final Fantasy IX instead of, say, Esfar from Final Fantasy VIII.
So the only response I'm going to say to this is that technically the city is called something else, so this is just part of it, but that's splitting hairs.
I see. But yeah, it's a nice little feel that doesn't go, like, it manages to convey effectively its futuristic technological feel without going that hard on the electronic. Not that much more than most other areas, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the background is there, but the forefront is mostly still instruments recognizable and not going full chiptunes or something like that.
Yes.
Which I think is a good choice for a city theme you might be hearing a lot.
This is a very Phantasy Star sounding theme.
Yes.
But honestly, they do Phantasy Star with this expansion better than Phantasy Star does it sometimes.
That is... I won't disagree. The other thing Solution 9 reminds me of, and Brand, I actually have to blame you for this because this whole nightmare was your idea originally.
Uh-huh.
There is a section of Solution 9 that's a flat-out red light district. There's bars and everything else over there, and I'm like, I'm seriously expecting to have to switch to Snake Style at some point over the course of traversing the zone.
You are missing your Snake Style, aren't you?
I am missing my Snake Style, but honestly, like... No, it's got all the features. It's got the weird bars, it's got the weird gym, it's got parking garage.
Okay. Does it have Champion District?
Kinda, yeah, actually.
Actually.
Alright.
It's only one road, but
Looking
yeah, there's
forward
the
to
dingier, smaller bar section. Yes, it does.
Amazing.
Honestly, completely devoid of all that context, I have what might be the weirdest take on this song.
I would love to hear it.
I think
Go on.
it kind of sounds like the soundtrack that Mega Man Battle Network wish it had, but couldn't because of the
my
GBA
God.
chip.
Ooh.
No, that's such a good take.
That's a great take.
Incredible. Like, it's between that and the space station
Listen,
parts
I will...
of Mega Man, of the later Mega Man X's.
So can take the damn compliment. Jesus Christ.
Like I've always had an issue with Mega Man Battle Network sounding very, very, very bad because of the GBA. And then I started to listen to this song and was like, I can see Mega Man.exe fighting to this.
I'm happy about that. That's actually great.
Yeah, that's a great take. I love that. I love Solution 9. I want an apartment here. Let me get an apartment here. They have actual apartment buildings. Let me rent one, please.
Oh my God.
Not even a full housing district, just an apartment.
It is.
Yeah.
It is the Tome City. It's the Tome City.
And it's bigger than a lot of other cities. It's bigger than Charlotte, and I'm pretty sure it's bigger than Gridania.
Like, my God.
Yeah, they went all out on this, and I'm like, I love it here, and please don't abandon this next pack. Let us stay here or something.
Yeah.
Love it.
Which brings us to the level 99 dungeon.
So, I'm going to put my first point of comparison right there at the start. Genova.
Yes.
No.
I actually saw the FF7 connection.
I mean,
here.
kind of, but also, like, they're not Oh god, I cannot actually answer what they're doing without spoiling it. They are doing another game.
It's not an inspiration. It's not a direct take from that.
Oh.
But I'm not saying this is a Genova remix or anything like that. But I hear similarities in how the main through line is structured and used.
Okay.
With that kind of looping but descending tone to it.
Okay.
I like it a lot, in any case. Especially since it doesn't stay that, and then goes into a direction closer to, like, I think it was a ferrochemical facility?
Yeah,
honestly,
there's a similar sort of energy, but not to the degree you think. I don't want to talk about this in too much detail, other than this song is insane. My only real note on it, one, the vocals are great, and two, it actually reminds me a little bit of a dungeon from Persona 2 Innocent Sin.
Huh.
Ooh.
Just a bit, but it's got that same kind of, like, urban energy, which makes sense if you know where you are.
I kind of thought the vocals clashed a little bit with the rest of the song, weirdly enough.
To be
Really?
fair, the clashing feels somewhat intense in a way.
I can see that, I think. Not enough to make the song not fun, but I don't know. Felt a bit weird. Can't quite put my finger on why.
Fair. Sometimes things are just weird.
Yeah, and I really like this brand of weird. That is... I probably like it even a little better than Vanguard.
Okay. I can see arguments
Maybe
for both,
that will
for sure.
change in context.
That, of course, brings us to the second trial.
Yep.
Where we go full-on industrial metal.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say who or what the trial is, but that I really want this mount.
Yeah, because I have preserved myself from the visuals from this one completely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do everything I can not to talk about what's going on in the story right now.
All good.
All I know is that the track is namesake in purpose, which is thankfully vague enough.
Yeah.
It's pretty vague.
All I'm gonna say about that comment of I want the mount is, as a former WoW player, I get that vibe.
Well, the mounts in this game actually play the boss music, which is why I say that. So when you're riding it, you hear this.
Yeah, I get that. I think I've seen that online. But yeah,
and overall, I really like the tone of...
I kind of dig the song. I like how good of a job it does at just setting up how much of a danger you're in. Like, really on the nose.
I wouldn't even say danger so much. It feels like things are breaking down left, right, and center. It feels like you're about to be cloud-struck.
There is a
to
bit
use
of
problems
both.
that will be outside of the collective mind in a couple of weeks.
Oh god, you did that reference. I think you mean crowd-struck? As in the NPC thing?
Oh, it's Cloud Strike, not Crowd Strike.
I'm lost.
The recent PC thing?
I know about that, Eddie. I don't think that's what I was referring to.
No, that is what I was referring to. I was just referring to it badly.
I need a drink of Gatorade.
Yeah, that software's called Crowd Strike.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So that's what I meant.
Yeah, this sequence of the game is pretty wild.
I can imagine, based on the sounds.
Yeah.
Like, we went from a Japanese man's interpretation of Brazilian music to suddenly aliens and sci-fi, and also somehow Battle Network is in someone's mind.
Listen, the way that they did Suddenly Aliens was fantastic.
Yes. I cannot stress enough how much I like this plot twist. It's so out of nowhere and so silly, and it works so well. Which leads us to my least favorite final zone. I'm not going to say anything about it for a whole lot of reasons. I get what they were going for. I don't like it here. I don't like the vibe. I don't like the music. I was glad to be gone from it.
It feels like it's really going hard on remember this thing. This song feels like they are going really hard on nostalgia in not just I remember this thing, but also you can't have it anymore.
Without spoiling it, I will say that you hit the nail on the head.
I also immediately, when I came into the zone, I was like, Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah.
You kind of warned me about that, yeah.
We have talking a lot about aliens. Here's an alien feeling. The ethereal voices in the song, they didn't do much for me.
That may or may not be intentional. It's hard to tell.
Especially with me, considering my preference for ethereal voices.
Yeah. There's a lot about this that's meant to be deliberately disjointed.
I see.
Maybe you caught on to that. I don't know if that particular part is meant to be intentional or not, or if it was just... I don't know. Get me out of here. I don't like this. I don't like this
let's get
final
out of here
zone.
then. And even
Final
further
dungeon.
into here.
Yeah, the final regular dungeon, which is a remix of this theme, which is... It's fine. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. The intro in particular is weirdly cheaper for a dungeon theme, in my opinion.
Yeah, like it's bringing a spark of hope in what was before.
It's difficult to explain all of this without spoiling.
I will say that this does a better job I will say that the Dead Ends did a better job remixing Ultima Thule than this dungeon does remixing this final area.
Yeah. Because it's essentially just, I'm sure there's more to it, but it feels like it's just accelerating the music a little bit and adding this background electronic jump to it.
I don't think there's that much more. I think this is literally just this theme, but dungeonified.
Because that's a great base to dungeonify it, but that shouldn't end here.
Yeah. I would actually go so far as to call this one a misfire. It feels like they could have done more and done more interesting with it. Instead, they just did Final Zone Plus.
Yep.
Yeah, especially since the previous dungeon has such a cool feel for final dungeon.
Yeah.
So if you have already the final dungeon and then you have something after and it's less powerful instead of being powerful in a different way, like it feels like they're trying to go for the emotional bit to contrast with the intense cool bit, and I guess how much it works or not really depends on context.
Yeah.
But that the music alone cannot carry it.
Oh.
Eddie, any thoughts?
Not really. Like I said, the intro is weirdly cheaper for a dungeon theme. The whole thing kind of feels a bit too nice, let's say, for
pleasant, you might say.
Thing. I might. Like my best guess for why they went with something this light is that maybe they wanted some sort of we're back home vibe or whatever, but it's just a weird choice for a late game dungeon.
Yeah.
Like, something this light would work for an early game dungeon, but not a late game one.
Yeah, I don't even think in context it works. Like, I know what they're going for, and even then I listen to this, I'm just like, this ain't right. I'm not getting it. You know what is right? We get real final boss music again.
Yeah!
Oh yeah.
Hooray!
Trial 3. I'm not going to say the name. But,
Final Boss Phase 1 theme.
Yes.
Is how I know it.
Final Boss Phase 1 theme is pretty good.
Drum and bass.
I will say, we're back to Phantasy Star. I feel like I'm fighting Dark Falls right now.
Yeah, like, you're starting with an aim loop, you know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy Star Online. I made the joke on stream, but bring it up again.
It is. It totally is. I like this song. This is just really good.
Yeah. it feels like it goes in so many weird paths to land in the perfect kind of intensity for the final boss of a leisurely expansion. Like, it feels intense, but not ultimate, endless escalation, world-ending intense.
Yeah, we're not doing
It feels
Bring
like
Shadow
you're
Invincible
solving
again.
something regional. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I like it a lot.
But
Totally.
at the same time,
For
it has its
everything-
own importance. It feels like it has
Exactly.
its own importance.
Yeah.
For everything I said on this episode about how I really wasn't a huge fan of how the orchestration worked in this soundtrack, I think this is a song where they did a good job. The mix with the synths is also really, really cool. It's a fun song.
Yeah. And like, I mentioned over and over again my disappointment with Endsinger, basically everything surrounding goth teenager Necron. The music comes into play as well there. It's just a medley of previous tracks, some of which this character had nothing to do with. This is not that. This is an actual song again. And that feels very refreshing after that disappointment.
Exactly.
And it feels
Which
actually
it had
connected
to
to the
be.
character.
Yes.
And then there's Phase 2,
So,
which feels like it's really trying to just put a bow on the expansion, really.
it does.
It is. I can't
It's
say anything
fine.
without spoiling it. It's fine. I like Phase 1 better, but this is totally workable.
So, it is it is honestly better to have heard it without context.
I fully
can
agree.
absolutely see that.
I feel a bit weirded out about how it sounds lighter than Phase 1.
That's pretty
Yeah,
intentional
like-
given the circumstances.
Yeah, because
This feels like a case where essentially we're moving from the boss theme to the theme of you and your gang.
Yes.
It
I
is
hate to say it, but yes.
It's a victory lap.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I'm coming from a background of Destiny rating where bosses have final stands, and like the current expansion, I don't remember the title track, but the previous one had the boss theme of oneirophobia, fear of sleeping.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So like Destiny goes more intense when you're going to Phase 2.
If you'll allow me, oneirophobia is not the fear of sleeping, but the fear of dreaming.
Yes, because it's the final god
That
of
would be
pain.
somnophobia,
Yes,
otherwise.
because the character in question was the final god of pain, and he torments people through nightmares as part of his stick.
Sounds like a friendly dude.
Yep.
He's one of many gods we've killed, and I think the only one we know who didn't actually really die. Fun times. But yeah,
Fun times indeed.
with this Destiny background, I'm more used to like things ramping up during the fight and only coming back down after the boss is dead during the death animation. So that weirded me out a little bit, but I can see why it would make sense in context for Final Fantasy to do something different from what Bungie does in Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, they are two very different games with very different design philosophies. I will say I don't expect this song to turn up in the EX version of the trial.
Yeah.
I won't
And
say why, but it doesn't really make sense for it to show up. It still might, but I don't see it. I don't see
It
it.
might,
Check
but
that.
the context might not be existing.
No comment.
Speaking of what will probably be no comment, I have a Final Zone theme too.
Is just Final Zone
When I
theme one with a
hear-
bunch of extra echo and delay on it? I have no interest in this
Yeah.
song whatsoever.
Yep.
And it's funny because I see the quote unquote temporary title, the spoiler-free title, and I figure since it's after the final boss, it probably should be a more happy theme of something that has been reclaimed, and that sounds like quite the opposite.
Boy,
So,
howdy, do I have a whole pile
yay-
of no comment for you.
Boy, how do we
have
have a
yay
whole
for-
pile of no comment for you.
Excellent.
I have
So,
comments
yay
for
for
you.
probably having ruined something forever.
Yeah, I have basically two comments on this track. The first one is one I made at the top of the episode, which is I'm not sure what this represents in game, but it sure as hell represents something.
That is, yes.
And the other comment I made, which is more about how it sounds, is this is basically Bygone Serenity, the title of Final Zone 1, if it were a part of the album Everywhere at the End of Time. If you're a music nerd, you got that.
I am a music nerd, but I didn't get that.
That's from The Caretaker,
So-
the series of albums they made exploring dementia and the
Interesting.
the process of memory loss and loss of self. He uses a lot of messing with the timing and a lot of reverb while remixing, I think, ballroom songs in his
Okay.
Interesting.
It is not for the faint of heart. I'll say that much. It does get hard on your mind as you go through that. But yeah, this sure sounds like something's falling apart.
Yep.
mm,
Sure.
No,
do we want to go to...
Let's move past the whole pile of no comment.
Let's move past the whole pile of no comment.
Do we
'cause
want
this
to
is not...
do the, do we want to do Smile first, or do you want to continue on to...
I have not listened to Smile. I only discovered that this song was a thing I needed to hear this morning shortly before recording, and I did not have time to take notes on it, so we're going to have to put a pin on that one.
Okay.
Or at least I am. Has anyone else heard Smile? Or is it just Sam?
Nope.
I heard it, but I don't really have too much to say.
We move on.
Okay. Tender
Okay.
Valley.
And that brings us, to our two optional dungeons of the expansion. We have Tender Valley, which is just Shaaloani Music
Yeah.
Remix, and I've come to the conclusion I just do not care about the Shaaloani theme.
This dungeon is fun. The music is serviceable.
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of any of the expert dungeons. I've got to be honest.
Again, I like the percussions, the cymbals, and everything.
Yes.
But
I kind of enjoyed the flute, and I imagine, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the vibe I got was that the idea was to invoke sort of Native American imagery, but without claiming to be Native American.
That's not inaccurate.
That's not inaccurate.
Side note, I'm looking at you, Thorin from Warcraft. But
yeah.
it's
This is an
pleasant.
optional dungeon that's disconnected from the story, so I can just go ahead and say it. Yeah, you're basically exploring native ruins at this point.
Stay with me. It's pleasant, but
There it
it's,
is.
Yeah.
it's all right. Like it's there. It is better than Blizzard at not pretending to be actual Native Americans, and that is good.
Yes.
But as a song, it's there.
And I do not want to spoil what the final boss of this is, because it caught me by big surprise.
Excellent.
And that leads us to my personal nightmare, the Deadwalk.
Oh.
Which I'm going to assume is the dungeon other people like more.
No.
I don't know anybody who likes this dungeon.
It is.
Oh,
The thing is, it's not
so
any.
sounds like they tried a
No,
lot.
it's not even.
and I guess it didn't land.
It's not even that we don't like the whole dungeon. It's just that the first boss go die in a fire.
The first two bosses, I'm sorry, no. One, we have hitbox jank to the extreme, and the second one, we have teacups. No. Both of those two first bosses can go to hell. I mean, technically, they already are there, and our job is to exercise them, but still.
I should have brought popcorn to this section.
No, my exact
if I'm
notes
not
are, I now
mistaken-
hate Zord and Thorn. That's how much I hate this dungeon. This song is great, but I will forever be
Alright.
reminded of this nightmare. That's just where we're at now.
I thought this was their theme remix, but I wasn't 100%
It
sure.
is. It's Zord and Thorn's theme.
So good. Yeah.
I now hate them.
Which is funny because they were already alluded to in Shadowbringers.
They were, and those guys used the Calcabrina theme for the Zord and Thorn analogs.
Yeah.
But now we get actual Zord and Thorn music, and guess who's here? Calcabrina dolls as one of the regular enemies. That's not a boss thing. So they really did kind of go in circles on that one, which I think is kind of thematically cool, but
They
yeah, these
did.
bosses are awful.
They
They're
were
just
they were a
bad.
those those Calperinas weren't ads; they were mechanics
As,
for healers.
as the one host of this episode who is neither traumatized or about to be traumatized by those bosses, I thought the song was surprisingly fine, considering I usually really don't like these sort of wacky Halloween-esque tunes.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the song is pretty
yeah,
good.
it
It's pretty
doesn't
decent.
go full.
It's just like
It doesn't go full. Tim Burton,
we have
Yeah.
trauma.
which I appreciate.
We already have King Bog for that.
Yes.
I mean, we already have Tim Burton for that. We don't need
I mean,
people
that's
trying
true,
to beat
but I mean,
Tim
in
Burton.
terms of Final Fantasy XIV, I mean, specifically.
I know what you're going for, but the joke was there.
That's fine. Yeah, no, this is an Uematsu remix, so, like, I'm fairly certain liking the composition is... then again, I think FF9 is when he started falling off. He still had some really great tracks on FF9, but a lot of those town themes are like, I don't really want to listen to this again.
Now let's move on to the raid.
The raid.
Oh,
This. First, we got the green room.
Please
It
explain
feels
what
like
is
a
the green room.
chill spot.
Yeah.
It
If
feels
anything, it gives me like a theme for a gacha for the screens where you're just spending 90% of your time actually just leveling and feeding materials to your characters.
Interesting.
I can
yeah,
see it.
instead of playing the part of the game you actually want.
that is very specific.
Honestly, though, I can see
Yes,
it.
but I am sure if you ask Geisterfuchs, he'll back me up on this.
When I hear something funny, I think I have an even more specific take on this.
Let's hear it.
This is not on the song on a whole, just the intro of the song, which feels a bit more ominous than the rest. This feels like where the villains from Mega Man Zero or Mega Man ZX hang out.
Huh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Like, that song does not exist. They don't hang
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But if they were to,
The one moment I was not listening, I am asked to back up. Is what Geister in chat says. Rana, go ahead and repeat your take.
Yes, I was saying that the theme, Green Room theme from the latest FF14 expansion sounds like the kind of music you'd hear in a gacha game, not in the actual playable part per se, but in the part where you actually spend 90% of your time just leveling and feeding materials to your characters and arranging your teams.
the menus from hell, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, a mix between that and elevator music, honestly.
Honestly, not wrong. Like, it
yeah,
starts
elevator
significantly-
music is definitely the vibe that's being
With
gone for
a
here, because this is
consist-
the green room.
I
This
have
is-
I have officially been called as 1000% right.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
I
Done.
will also say that it has the same melody through line that we will see in the next few themes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course.
And we may as well get started on
It's
that. Our first...
The raid leitmotif.
Yep, our first boss on... our first boss in Arcadion, the Black Cat.
I saw the title of the song. It's Showtime. My first note was, yep, exactly what it says on the theme.
Sure is.
I saw a comment on the video that said someone put Persona 5 and ARMS in a blender.
Not inaccurate. Having... basically, this is a lighter mix of of Fight 4 more than anything else. Which will make sense in story, but I can't really explain why. But yes, this is just a fun song.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like the
Yeah.
violin and vocal effects. It's a good raid starter.
My main
yeah,
note
exactly.
on this song is that I have no idea what goes on here, but it sure sounds like the folks involved are are having a great time, especially with the crowd noises.
Honestly, yeah, it's a great
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Like, it works great for a first fight in a raid,
Yep.
which it is, so perfect.
Yep.
And it sends me a little bit back on Pokemon, the ones where the matches
Gen 8.
for the games happened in actual stadiums.
Yeah,
Sword and
Generation
Shield.
8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I played a little bit of that. I know what's being said here. Yay!
wonderful.
I don't, so whatever.
So I will minor spoiler because this story is pretty ejected from the main one. Very minor
It
spoiler.
feels very much lighthearted.
Yes. No. Yes. No.
Yes,
Yes.
no.
Maybe. Sure.
Yes and no.
So Black Cat
As far
here,
as I'm concerned, it's a tournament arc.
We'll go with that.
sure. Yeah, that close enough. So kind of a minor spoiler. Black Cat here is actually our raid helper girl, our official raid helper girl, a tradition that started all the way back with Alize and the Binding Coils. And she's just my favorite. I adore her.
Yeah.
She's everything Urqopacha wishes
right.
she was.
I enjoy
On
her
the subject of...
presence.
I will say, for this theme, as much as I appreciate the wrestling theme vibes they're going for, this doesn't beat the unexpected star of the genre, which is the first drawing theme for Chumped Up in Jackbox Party Pack 7.
My god.
Yes, this is very specific, but those whoa just hit different.
Okay.
Now let's move to the Vocaloid song.
Let's move. Yep. And this has one of my favorite YouTube comments of all time, which I would like to read more or less verbatim. Endwalker, scream if you like, your gods can't hear you. Dawntrail, bees.
Incredible.
The fact that they made an idol theme.
I just want to confirm one thing, because I
Yes.
have this note here. I'm betting this is the theme to a quirky, unique character who poses an unexpected challenge to the players. Am I right?
No.
More, well, other than it being unexpected, because, you know, she's a well-regarded fighter, but yes, other than that, basically.
All right. I don't like this.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
So the hilarious thing though is going to be watching Savage Raiders yell at each other during Prague to this.
It's gonna be pretty
All
great.
right. I did not consider that mental image, and it's incredible.
Yeah,
That
this is...
being said,
Yeah.
That being said, as an experienced, somewhat experienced rhythm game player, feeling suffering and pain while listening to a cutesy song is not a feeling I'm stranger to.
Yeah.
Fair.
My exact words are, I personally don't like it, but there's definitely nothing else like it out there.
Oh my god.
If nothing else, Honeybee Lovely's music is unique. I will say something else about Honeybee Lovely. She has the dodgiest Southern American accent I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, no. Correct.
This actor does not know how to do Southern. She is probably from the heart of London and is doing just awful.
She's trying her hardest, but it's not working.
It's not happening.
This is a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
The character is more interesting than the music, I think.
Yeah.
I think
to
it
the
doesn't
point
help.
where I've got to just say this. I've been bringing this up every time I have an excuse to. I'm going to keep doing it. So they did a character popularity poll for Dawntrail recently, and Honeybee Lovely made the top 10. Urqopacha did not.
Of course she did. Okay, that's the stinger.
Just
Pun
had to
non-intended.
throw that
I
out
would have
there.
said pun extremely intended. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Nope, not actually intended. I just
You should have
stumbled
taken
upon
credit
it.
for that.
I mean,
Sometimes-
it's better.
I'm
It's better
I'm
than the
an
pun on
honest
the.
punster.
It's better than the pun on the song title. Be my honey.
Yeah. It's,
Oh yeah.
This particular
Ah.
song is very cheesy and revels in it.
Yeah.
Take pride in
Yeah,
your
exactly,
in your
like-
pun abilities. You're better than Square Enix.
It feels like it reached a point where you can't even really be that mad at this song because it knows exactly
Oh, yeah.
what it's trying to do.
It-
Irritation and all.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I
This was
definitely
clearly
get what's
designed
going
with that exact reaction in mind.
Yeah.
I will ask one thing. Please tell me this raid has mechanics where you need to hear the enemy so you can't mute the game.
I unfortunately no.
No.
They're
That would
actually
make-
pretty good about that.
That would make prog raiding
No, I
so much
think they
funnier.
generally don't
So,
do that.
They have done it
I
before.
think they generally don't do that because
They've,
it's an accessibility issue.
yeah, they've
Yeah,
done
I
it
know.
once, and it's an
Yeah.
ultimate.
That messes up deaf players is basically the reason why that isn't a thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Honestly, I would also be against them doing it. It's just that the mental image of prog raiders having to do that is just so funny.
Like I said, they do
That
it in
is fair.
ultimate. If you want to see people struggling to hear things, go watch Uwu.
It's not even the struggling to hear things. It's the we have to yell over this song that we can't even mute because we need to hear this audio
Cue. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna save it for some other conversation. It's not really needed. Scratching what I just said.
But
All right.
do we want to move on to the next song?
Let's go.
If we have nothing else to say on this one, so this is like one of the
Akuma!
few songs. Well, yeah, Akuma, but also Brute Bomber here. It sounds like they were going for Zangief's theme in Mist. I don't like this song very much. It's very drab to me.
They're going for a direct delivery of 5 pounds of beef.
Yeah.
I basically have a few notes, but my main ones are first, cool guitar intro, bro, and second, sounds like the theme to a try-hard fighter, and based on the visuals, I think I'm right.
Correct.
Yeah. He's
I
our
will
first
say,
official
like-
wrestling heel, so to speak.
Yeah. But that's... This song annoys me more than anything because it sets up something that will go hard and then it swerves the other way
Yeah.
and goes like it wants to be hopeful when it doesn't need to.
It just peters out in a way. Yeah, no, this is not a song that I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
works.
I noted that I should like this more, but this isn't clicking with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's that the fight's fun.
It's all right. I like the first two better in terms of actual like fighting.
Yeah. But,
I don't know. I don't. If I'm comparing this song directly to Pandemonium Tier 1, something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I think that we can all agree that this
Hang
song
on.
was.
I know what you're going to say, but actually, I want to kind of pose a question here before we go on, because we are going to start talking about Wicked Thunder, Raid 4. Rana, Eddie, Sam, if you'd be so kind, you already know the answer to this, so kind of kindly stay out of this one question.
Will do.
Rana, Eddie, you guys have heard me talk about
Yes.
FF14 music a lot. What do you think my reaction to this song is going to be?
The next one?
Give it all?
Yeah, give it all.
I think you will draw parallels to songs you don't like, and either think this is an improvement or think this is going to be the worst thing on Earth.
Eddie?
Because this has escape vibes, kinda.
I have a feeling you didn't like this one, and you are gonna tell us how a previous song did it better.
So, I'm glad you guys are saying it in that context, because get ready for the plot twist. I think this is my top 5 favorite songs of the entire game.
Huh.
Fascinating.
Dawntrail came swinging with some of these.
Yeah. This is basically Oblivion 2, right? But Oblivion 2, but with guitars that are actually under control? Again,
Which
I don't
makes
like
sense.
Oblivion because... Yeah, again, I don't like Oblivion because of its guitar tone. That's been my very consistent line on this.
Yeah.
So if you give me a
it
version
has
of that
this
song...
discordant tone that
Yeah.
unvibes with you so hard.
Yeah. So give me a version of that song with a singer I like in the form of Chrissy Costanza from Against the Current.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. This thing just clicked with me so damn hard. Also, I remind you who the singer on Escape was. That's got points against it right there. But also remind you my biggest complaint about Escape was that the vocal melody line was just the most boring and the most basic cadence in history. They're not doing that here. This actually goes some places.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I assumed that one of the possibilities was that they could take sounds that are pretty similar in places and actually do something with them.
Yeah, I find myself listening to this one. In fact, I actually caught myself and I had to stop myself, but when I went to the bathroom earlier, that's off screen, I actually was whistling this song on the way back into the office and to stop myself in case you guys heard me. I realized, wait, that's the plot
that's
twist.
neat.
I adore this track.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to rate this. Mind-blowingly excited.
And what's funny is that it's, as far as the levels of energy goes, it nails a very difficult spot to land on, which is that it is the apex of an arc, but not the apex of the whole sub-story there.
Yes.
Like, it works great for a fourth tier of a raid, which is the end of this step, but not of the whole story.
I haven't...
And I don't think they've nailed that tier 4, like a fourth fight in a raid tier, ever in the game, besides, for very special circumstances, Titan Maximum.
I think Metal from Alexander comes closer than Titan Maximum, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, was Metal,
Metal was
first?
Metal was the tier 4.
Oh, okay. Then no, that matches it.
Yeah, but yeah, not since then, that's for sure. Like, I like that Titan song, but it just felt like part of a whole. It didn't feel like the end of anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the Titan song works because you know what the original Titan song is.
Exactly.
But this one is...
This one stands on its own merits.
Yes.
Like, the raid themes that they've been able to do in recency
and
have been quality.
Yeah, and it manages to do that without sounding like Hinksunt Leones did.
Yeah.
Like, it's bait for a Primals concert.
Yeah, this is not that. Although, I really hope... Oh god, if Koji sings this, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm going to fly to Japan just to kick him in the balls.
Wish Grunted again will sing it now.
He's getting better.
Yes, but... True, but that's quite a level to match.
I can hear the monkey's paw curling.
Yes. I made the gesture.
But please get the singer for this, for the love of fuck.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
And that...
Love of God.
Yes, we need the actual singer, or at the very least, please let Amanda Aiken pinch hit rock. This may not be her thing, but you know, Adventures in Fairyland, Titania's theme. I forget what it's called. That's not her thing either. She makes that. Thank you. That's not her song either, but she makes it work. She can make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't been this impressed with a raid theme, period, since From the Heavens from Stormblood.
Yeah.
Which, given that that is my #1 favorite song of the game, and obviously it's impossible to compare this incredible orchestral bombastic nonsense to just good old rock and roll, still.
I think I'm still leaning towards Return to Oblivion
I do like that
But-
song, but not as much as this. I think that one.
It's in the conversation.
It's in the conversation. I will definitely grant you that.
Like they when this in conversation with From the Heavens, Scream, Return to Oblivion, like
Yeah. We're kind of talking about the all-out greats here at this point.
Yes.
Eddie, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because you're as far divorced from this as it could possibly get.
I just think I'm not the target audience for this song. I thought it was fine, but not my thing.
okay.
I have
Okay.
nothing else to say. This is one of those, oh,
Then
he's
how-
really sitting in the corner.
Then how about we move to maybe conclusions on the soundtrack as a whole?
As a whole, I liked this better than Endwalker, though I think there are still some things that Endwalker did better. There's no
Yeah.
song on this soundtrack that matches the intensity of Finality for the regular boss or Endcaller, which is the first trial theme in
And your
Endwalker. I didn't like your answer as much. I like it, but not as much as Endcaller. I think Endcaller is definitely the stronger of the two.
This
Yeah. It does something interesting and different, which I think is good, and it does like two very different themes, Mesoamerican and then hard science fiction, very well, and gives us really great ear candy for both.
And it also gives, like, in terms of musical, like, up in the top fives, for me, I have more songs from Dawntrail in there than I do from Endwalker, and it's only because, like, the highs for Dawntrail hit pretty high.
I still think the highs for Endwalker hit higher, but the overall quality of Dawntrail, I think, is stronger. I think Endwalker had a lot more throwaway tracks for me.
As for myself, definitely an enjoyable listen all throughout. I like that they start in something that they make it feel like it's going to be the whole expansion, and then they take the hard swerve, and I think they nailed that swerve.
They definitely did musically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like, even without that, they haven't tried some things that are interesting, but for every Tuliyollal Day theme, there's a somewhat forgettable field theme. So that, like, I feel I'm going to find the first half of the expansion twice as long as it should be. Already just from the music.
Unfortunately, I kind of have to agree with that feeling.
It is paced decently well, but there is
I hope so.
certainly a bit of drag in a couple places at the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard there's some
But-
people in my Destiny clan who also play Final Fantasy. No, I don't know how they can live with two different live service games like this, but they do. But
they have no
said
life
that-
is how.
Yeah, pretty much. But they have said that it's a bit of a slow burn at first. It gets better later on. But one of them said that he discovered he was tired of MMORPGs because of the start of this expansion.
That's saying too much.
That's a
I
little
think
much.
that's I can't agree with that. I don't think Eddie
Yeah,
Garcia
because
he
deserves
didn't-
that level of problem.
He didn't say
Yeah.
it made him tired. He just said it made him realize he was getting tired of MMORPGs.
Yeah.
Like he's not
But, like,
putting
I
the
can
fault on
definitely
the game.
see. I can definitely like the competition aspect helping go through the early parts and then bridge things to when it gets spicy. And from that point, like, as a whole, it feels like they didn't just do a lighter expansion, but also maybe a bit of a less, like, musically a bit of a less personal one, it feels, than previous expansions, which makes sense because they're trying to start a new thing, but you already have a name, and it's a tricky balance to walk to keep one of the strengths of FF14, which is that the story, unlike, say, a World of Warcraft, is in large part about you, the player, or the character.
Right.
But that they kind of have to consider this other point of view dragging along, and that can be felt as stealing the spotlight. I imagine that's a big problem.
I don't think that's... I mean, without saying too much, a lot of this expansion has the Warrior of Light in a mentor position. So the spotlight being stolen isn't really a thing, given the change in context, but...
And that's kind of what I was headed to. That's the best outcome they can go from that position on the long term would be like, instead of multiple expansions being an escalation, that they are different points of view with the established Warrior of Light as a mentor, and eventually building up to those characters you guided along, evolving and confronting each other in some interesting ways. But maybe that's just the Fire Emblem player in me that looks and think, maybe if we have 3 expansions with a character that is mentored up with a different point of view, we could have a 3 houses situation.
This is why, Galen mentioned it when streaming, that he's not that we're not completely discounting Wuklamat after all this. It is mainly just she desperately needs to grow from this.
She needs to grow from this, and she needs a little less screen time. Yeah. Not much less, but she definitely was like, there were way too many scenes where it's like, why is she here right now?
Mm-hmm.
We are not yet at a 2.x Minfilia situation, then.
No, we haven't reached there, but we are heading in that direction. And I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
But...
like, I'm bringing the comparison for a reason.
Yes, we haven't gotten there yet. There's still time to change course and make Wuklamat interesting. I haven't written her off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they've shown that they can fix things up pretty well in the past.
I hope they do.
Not always, but it's still in the realm of possibilities.
Yes. As to the music, please keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. This sounded great.
Yeah. And also, the fact that they went with such a strong theme corresponding to real places in our world, but basically didn't pull the trigger on instruments from there, is interesting, but I don't think I agree this was the right call to keep for the whole expansion.
I think a little bit of regional instrumentation would have been very welcome. I agree there.
This was almost too restrained.
I'm kind of torn, honestly, on the soundtrack, in part because of that. Because it would really add a lot if they had, honestly, maybe even worked with composers from the areas they are drawing from. I said, there was that song that seemed to bring elements from Brazil. I could figure out they were Brazilian things because I hear them basically every time there's a World Cup, a FIFA World Cup to be precise. But they weren't used like we use in Brazil. I'm gonna grab a little bit from the world of heavy metal here, but there's a drummer called Eloy Casagrande. He used to be the drummer for Sepultura. He's now the drummer for Slipknot as of, I think, a month or two ago. And he has a video.
Very recent.
Yeah, he's by a lot of people's standards, he's considered the greatest metal drummer alive. And he was winning awards when he was a child and everything. But the point is, like, this guy has a video where he was a guest on the channel Drumeo. Drumeo is an app for learning the drums, and they have a YouTube channel. And they basically did a masterclass with him about how to apply Brazilian rhythms into heavy metal. And like the main point of the video is not the only point he makes, but it's kind of the main point if you watch through it all, is that Brazilian rhythms have a lot of syncopation. And samba in particular is almost 100% free form when it comes to the rhythm section. We heard nothing of that here. Like, this was almost aggressively 4/4. Brazilian rhythms spit on your classical 4/4.
I definitely agree with you there, Eddie. I feel like some more rhythm experimentation would have been very welcome at points.
Yeah. And it's kind of frustrating now that I think about it, because the trials are going to be in the more techy area with the wrestling sub-theme. The raid, we know, is probably going to be instrumental remixes of FF11 themes.
You mean the Alliance raid?
Yes.
Okay, I'm like, wait, we just heard the raid. It had nothing to do... Okay, now, sorry, the hamster wheel was a little slow on that one.
Yes. So I guess, the raids are going to be in the wrestling/techy area. The Alliance raids are going to be FF11 remixes. And that leaves kind of very few spots for them to try and expand on the themes they apparently nail visually when it comes to those new areas.
Well, here's hoping they find a chance to. I honestly have no idea what they're planning for the trial set. Like, that's a whole new world at that point. I don't know where that's going to end up.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
I also know that we are getting a new foray, so another Gongos or another Eureka, which will be very welcome.
Oh, yeah.
So there could also be some play in there.
And then I guess it's dungeons, whether they're expanded ones. Or what's the name again? The ones that started at the Studio Subterranean.
The ones that Galen does not
Variant
like.
And Criterion.
Yes.
Not a fan of those.
Maybe one of those.
We could have more. I don't know if they're planning on any, but that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they did imply they were planning some... I don't know whether they're planning on expanding the island again or doing something in that vein, but they said that was a possibility.
Also, foray.
Yes, anytime now, please. I need it in my blood. I miss that so much.
And also,
in Endwalker.
building content.
And what I need is some sleep.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap this thing up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our FF14 special. Always good to have the whole gang together. I hope we get a chance to do this again sometime soon. As always, you can find...
Looking forward to it already.
Yeah, as always, you can find how to contact us in the description. And have a good one, everybody. Thank you so much.
So you gonna fix that door?
No.